14 days. That is the honest average I give owners now for a genuinely nervous new bird to reach a calm, reliable step up onto a hand. It is not the 3 minutes a pet shop counter will promise you on the way out the door. You leave with a brand new cage under one arm, and a bird who has never once met you under the other. Most of the birds I see still flinching at an open hand 6 months later were never actually difficult individuals. They were tamed on a deadline, pushed through in a single rushed afternoon because somebody wanted to hold their new bird by dinner. That one rushed afternoon is usually the exact reason the whole process then took months instead of 2 weeks. I am Pip. I have spent 30 years as an avian specialist, and taming is the process I watch owners rush harder than almost anything else I deal with. Everyone wants the fast version. Done wrong, that fast version is exactly what creates the permanently defensive bird who never actually gets fast at all. Here is the mechanism, because nothing else on this list makes sense without it. A bird is a prey animal first and a companion second. Her brain is built to treat a sudden approach, a looming hand, or a fast movement as a genuine threat until it has been proven safe. The same way, over and over, not once and settled. Trust is not a switch that flips once you have done enough nice things. It is built entirely through predictability, the same calm approach repeated so many times that her nervous system finally stops treating it as an emergency. Rushing does not skip that process. It resets it, sometimes all the way back to day one. There is a trap hidden inside that mechanism worth naming on its own, since it catches genuinely well-meaning owners more than any single mistake on this list. A brand new bird who goes still and quiet the moment you handle her on day one is very often not calm. She is frozen. Freezing is a genuine survival response, the same instinct that keeps a wild bird motionless when a predator passes close by. An owner who reads that stillness as an easy, already tame bird will often push straight into out-of-cage handling within the first week, and the collapse that follows a few days later gets blamed on the bird's personality rather than on the sequence that actually caused it. There is a real way to tell the two apart if you look closely. A genuinely calm bird holds loose feathers, breathes at a normal steady rate, and will usually blink and shift her weight naturally. A frozen bird holds unnaturally still, breathes fast and shallow, and keeps every feather clamped tight against the body. Checking for that difference before you decide she is ready for more is worth 30 seconds every single time. Quick note before we keep going, my ebook, How to Take Care of Your Flying Friend, has clear warning signs for when a budgie is stressed or unwell. It's the first link in the description. The first real mistake, and the one that undoes every later step before it even starts, is handling a bird within her first few days home. A newly arrived bird is coping with a new cage, new sounds, new smells, and a house full of strange faces all at once. She has no reserve left over for learning to trust a hand as well. Give her a genuine settling period first, a minimum of 2 to 3 full days for a bird with an easy, confident personality. Closer to a full week for one who arrives visibly tense, feathers held tight, barely eating in front of you. During that window, your job is presence without demand. Talk quietly near the cage. Feed and clean normally. Never reach in. Skipping this step is the single most common reason a taming process that should take 2 weeks stretches into 2 months instead, and it costs nothing more than the patience to wait it out properly. The second mistake is trying to tame more than one bird at once, or trying to tame any bird in a busy, noisy part of the house. Birds in a group are constantly reading each other for danger signals. A companion bird flaring or bolting at nothing undoes several calm sessions in one moment. If you have more than one bird, take the one you are working with into a separate quiet room for sessions. Somewhere without a television running, without foot traffic passing through, without another cage in view. A spare bedroom or a quiet corner of a study works fine, and it costs nothing beyond 10 minutes of rearranging. The third step, and the true starting point of taming itself, is simply placing a hand inside the cage, with no demand attached to it at all. Enter slowly. Rest your hand on the cage floor or a low perch. Stay still, and let her choose how close she comes, rather than reaching toward her. Do this for a short, set stretch each day. 5 minutes is plenty, at roughly the same time if you can manage it, since a predictable pattern is what actually teaches her a hand is not a threat. If she backs away or gets visibly tense, do not chase that distance by moving closer. Let her set it. Withdraw slowly and calmly when the session ends, never suddenly. A fast withdrawal reads to her as confirmation that something dangerous just happened, and it can undo several sessions of patient, still presence in one careless second on the way out. The fourth piece is building trust through food, which works because a hungry bird has genuine motivation that patience alone cannot manufacture. Set aside one treat she clearly loves, a small piece of millet spray or a favorite seed, and reserve it only for training sessions so it keeps its full pulling power. Mornings work best for this. She has gone all night without eating and is naturally hungrier than she will be later in the day after grazing at her regular bowl. Offer the treat from your fingers at the edge of the cage first, then gradually closer to your palm across sessions. A bag of good quality millet spray runs somewhere around $8 to $12 and lasts for months of daily sessions, which makes it one of the cheapest tools on this entire list. Cost is genuinely never the barrier here. Time and consistency are the only real currency this process runs on. The fifth step is worth adding for a bird who is still too nervous to take a treat directly from your fingers, a short training stick or a small dowel perch. Offer a treat at the very end of the stick first, let her approach it entirely on her own terms, then gradually shorten the distance between the stick and your hand across several sessions. This intermediate tool matters because it lets a genuinely fearful bird make real progress without ever having to tolerate a hand directly at close range before she is ready for it. A simple wooden dowel costs next to nothing, and moving from stick to hand once she is confident usually takes only a handful of extra sessions. The sixth skill, and the one most owners skip entirely, is learning to read her body language before pushing any step further. Feathers held tight against the body, a fixed stare, leaning away, or rapid eye pinning are all signs she is tense. This is not the moment to ask for more, no matter how close you feel to progress. A relaxed bird holds her feathers slightly loose, blinks normally, and may grind her beak softly, which is actually a sign of contentment rather than distress. Open beak with a hiss, lunging, or striking toward the hand is an unmistakable stop signal, not a moment to push through for the sake of a session you have already started. Readiness to move forward is best judged by 3 specific signals rather than by counting days alone. Whether she leans toward the hand rather than away from it. Whether she takes a treat quickly and confidently rather than snatching it and retreating immediately. And whether she rests calmly near the open cage door rather than at the farthest possible perch. All 3 appearing consistently across 2 or 3 sessions in a row is a far more honest readiness signal than any fixed number of days on a calendar. It also protects against advancing a bird who simply has a naturally still, quiet temperament but is not actually comfortable yet. The same trap the freeze response sets earlier in the process. The 7th stage is teaching an actual step up once she is comfortable with a hand nearby and reaching for treats without hesitation. Bring a finger in gently, level with or slightly above her feet, rather than looming from above. Apply light, steady pressure against her lower belly, just above the feet, which reads to her the same way a perch does. Say the same short word, step up or simply up, every single time, in the same even tone, so the word itself eventually becomes part of the signal. Reward every successful step immediately with the reserved treat. This stage typically follows 1 to 2 weeks of the hand desensitization work above, sometimes considerably longer for an older or previously mishandled bird. The 8th piece is consistency across the entire household, not just your own sessions. If one person practices calm, patient handling while somebody else in the house grabs at her, chases her for fun, or handles her roughly when you are not watching, every session you run is competing against that other experience. Sit the household down before you start and agree on one shared approach. The same slow entry, the same word for stepping up, the same rule about never chasing her around a room. A bird cannot tell the difference between 2 people's intentions. She only knows what hands near her have actually meant so far. The 9th piece is session structure itself, since how you space the training matters almost as much as what you do inside it. Short sessions of 5 to 15 minutes, once or twice a day, every single day, build far more reliable trust than one long, intense hour, attempted once a week and then abandoned for days afterward. A bird's attention and patience genuinely run out well before an owner's does. Continuing past that point teaches her that sessions with you eventually turn unpleasant, which works directly against everything the earlier minutes just built. Ending on a calm, successful note and stopping there is worth more than squeezing in one more repetition, because progress felt close. The 10th and final mistake is the one that does the most damage in a single moment, chasing a spooked or free-flying bird around a room to catch her by hand, or grabbing at her when a session has not gone the way you planned. A bird chased and caught by force learns in that instant that hands mean capture. That single memory can undo weeks of careful, patient work in a matter of seconds. If she will not come to you willingly, dim the room and leave one small light source near her cage, since her instinct is to fly toward the last visible perch as evening settles in. Or place her favorite reserved treat just inside the open cage door and simply wait nearby without reaching for her at all. Both approaches let her return on her own terms, which is worth far more to the whole process than getting her back inside 3 minutes faster. If you want to start tonight, here is exactly how. Sit a chair beside the cage, not directly in front of the door, and simply sit quietly for 10 minutes without reaching in at all. Watch how she responds to your presence alone before you attempt anything else on this list. If she stays relaxed with you sitting there, move to the hand-in-cage step tomorrow. If she is still flattening her feathers, or backing to the far perch just from you sitting nearby, give her another 2 or 3 days of simple presence before advancing. Keep a simple written log if it helps, 1 line a day, what you did and how she responded. 2 weeks of daily notes will show you a real trend that a single bad session cannot, and that trend is what should actually decide when you move to the next stage. Resist the urge to test her progress by trying something bigger just to see. Checking whether she will step up onto a stranger's hand, or seeing whether she will tolerate being carried across the room, before the earlier stages are genuinely solid, is one of the fastest ways to undo 2 weeks of careful, patient work in a single afternoon. A week-by-week rhythm helps most owners stay consistent rather than losing patience halfway through. In week 1, the entire goal is settling and presence. No hands, no demands, simply being near the cage calmly and predictably every day. In week 2, hand-in-cage sessions begin alongside treat offering, still with no expectation of a step up yet. By weeks 3 and 4, many birds who arrived with an ordinary, easygoing temperament are taking treats confidently and beginning to tolerate a finger close enough to attempt a step up. An older bird, a rehomed bird, or one who arrived with a rough handling history can genuinely take 6 to 8 weeks of this same patient, unhurried process, and that is not a sign anything is being done wrong. It is simply a different starting point, asking for the same honest approach for longer. Species and individual temperament shift this timeline further, and it is worth naming plainly rather than promising one number for every bird you might own. A budgie or a cockatiel raised by a careful breeder from a young age often moves through these stages faster than a larger parrot species, simply because a smaller bird's fear response tends to settle with fewer repetitions. A cockatoo, an African gray, or a macaw brings genuine intelligence and memory into the process, and that cuts both ways. She learns the pattern of calm, predictable sessions quickly once they start, but she also remembers a single rough handling incident for far longer than a smaller bird typically does. The steps themselves do not change by species, only the number of repetitions needed to get there does. It is worth being plain about one thing before wrapping up, because taming should never come at the cost of missing something real. A bird who was previously calm and is suddenly showing new fear, or a bird who stops eating normally, sits fluffed and low, or seems unsteady during this process, deserves a same-day vet visit rather than another training session. That specific kind of change, a real shift away from her own normal baseline rather than ordinary caution around a new hand, is not something to work through with more patience. Knowing the difference between a nervous bird and an unwell one is part of doing this properly. I put together a free printable taming timeline covering every stage on this list, with space to log her daily response so you are working from her actual progress rather than a guess or a countdown. The link sits in the description below, and it costs nothing to download. The owners who get a genuinely tame bird in something close to 2 weeks are almost never the ones who tried hardest to speed things up. They gave up trying to control the timeline and simply repeated the same calm, predictable approach every single day until her own nervous system finally agreed it was safe to stop bracing. Sit beside her cage tonight for 10 honest minutes and do nothing more than that. It is a smaller start than you were probably expecting, and it is exactly how the genuinely fast version of this actually works, one calm and predictable minute at a time, for as many days as it honestly takes.